Welcome back to Rise to Liberty podcast. Today I am joined by Jeremy from Goldbacks. Let's see, I didn't want to mispronounce your last name. It's Corner?
It's
Gordon?
Corden.
Gordon. Okay. I'm so terrible with names. Jeremy Corden of Goldback. And do you kind of just want to, give a quick run through of like what they are, just in case anybody doesn't know?
Sure. And I don't know how many people are listening to this versus watching it, but a Goldback, it's 1,000th of an ounce of gold. It's a commodity money. And the idea is that there are multiple denominations with different corresponding amounts of gold. So like the 25 denomination, for example, 25 times the amount of gold is the one, costs 25 times as much. It's a way that people can use sound money today.
And so basically it's a cash version of gold, something that we could actually use as cash, but it's actually gold.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. If cash and gold had a baby, it would be a Goldback.
So let's back up just a little bit. I just wanted people to be able to know what we're talking about, why you're here, what awesome contribution you have made to this whole liberty sphere. But what got you into bullion in the first place? What got you interested in finance?
I can't say I was ever really that interested in finance beyond, saving my allowance to buy, more Pokemon cards or,
Fair enough.
I didn't grow up like in a financially literate family. What got me really interested in gold was the Ron Paul campaign in 2011. I actually was one of his delegates in Utah. And, out of all the libertarian things, precious metals, that subsection interested me the most. And anything that I could get my hands on about precious metals, I was doing that. I was absolutely fascinated with, gold and silver and the monetary system and everything else. And I wanted to learn everything I could about it.
So I guess the standard question would be, what got you into libertarianism, or, that type of philosophy?
That's a really fun one. When I was in high school, I got kind of sucked into politics. I was a Mormon kid living in Oregon, and Mitt Romney was running for president. And this is like this is like 2008. I want to say this is a long time ago. This is like, the 2007, 2008 presidential campaign. And I was so fascinated with Mitt Romney because he was a Mormon too. It really wasn't anything bigger or more complicated than that. It was like, he's a Mormon, I'm a Mormon, so therefore I should be interested in this guy's campaign. Yeah. And I read obsessively every day any article that came out about Mitt Romney's campaign, and I couldn't help but learn about all the other campaigns. And if you remember the 2008 election, Mitt Romney, he didn't get the Republican nomination. John McCain did. And I became convinced that John McCain had somehow cheated Mitt Romney out of the nomination. I was sure of it. I'd read enough. I thought, John McCain swindled Mitt Romney out of the, he played dirty. I'm just a kid, right? So I don't really understand the world, right? And I was so upset that John McCain had slighted Mitt Romney, and I didn't like John McCain. John McCain was the guy that wanted to go to war with Iran, and I grew up kind of during the Bush years of, the forever war in Afghanistan.
So did I.
And, like everyone that I was around in school, everyone outside of church, basically in Oregon, this is a very, kind of left leaning state, really hated George Bush in his war. It was the Democratic Party is the anti-war party. And John McCain represented, he was just another Bush. And for whatever reason, I didn't believe that Mitt Romney wanted to go to war with Iran, but John McCain did, and he became, he torpedoed my guy, and he was the devil. So therefore, out of spite, I started following Obama's campaign. And, Obama really appealed to the young people. But what I liked about Obama as a 18-year-old was that he, in 2007, mind you, really spoke to and campaigned on constitutional principles. It's weird if you go back and look at it. If you go back and look at like a campaign speech for Obama in 2007 and you compare that against John McCain, I think Obama was closer to being a constitutional candidate than John McCain. And, I hope people can forgive me. I was young, but I really liked that about Obama. And in 2008, I voted for that guy. And over the course of the next 4 years, I became really disillusioned. So that when Ron Paul ran, I thought, hey, these are all the things I liked about Obama. And, that I liked about the Republican Party. Because I was always the anti-war guy. I didn't like war. And John McCain was a war guy. Obama didn't prove to be a dove either. He continued the war in Afghanistan. He didn't end the war in Afghanistan like he talked about. So everything that Ron Paul said, I really liked and resonated with. And then I learned more, and that was, that's how I got interested in politics and interested in Ron Paul. And, like a lot of my friends, we all kind of became these libertarian leaning Republicans, in that generation, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much my era of entry as well. I actually found Ron Paul in a High Times magazine campaign advertisement. He was, had his platform in there, and he was for the decriminalization and legalization of marijuana. And I thought that was like political suicide, but it said marijuana and all other drugs. And I was like, this is crazy. I've never seen this before. And so I kind of stuck with him for that. And that following winter after that campaign, that was the 2008 campaign. After that winter, I had heard more about him, started reading up on him, and well, here I am. So yeah, that's crazy. I've heard a lot of people come into the philosophy through Ron Paul, either 2008 or 2012.
Well, if you're 30 years old, if you're between 30 and 40 years old right now, and you're in the libertarian space, it's a pretty safe bet that it wasn't Jonathan Johnson, or whoever who was the Joe
Jorgensen.
It probably wasn't her either,
and it definitely wasn't Gary Johnson.
So it's kind of the Ron Paul, libertarian / conservative generation of people, and so that's, and my guess is that might be a lot of your viewers too.
Actually, yeah. The age gap is kind of interesting. It's like early 30s, late 30s, early 40s, and then kind of jumps up in between a little bit, and has got a little bit of an older crowd. But but yeah, it's pretty much people around our age came into the libertarian movement, or people who were libertarian curious. So
sure,
I do try to cater to those people as well, because there is a lot of bad information and a lot of bad examples of this philosophy out there. So obviously that's a natural progression to get into bullion from there, learning about the Federal Reserve, fiat currency, all that stuff. So how did you get into the industry?
Well, I didn't think it was an industry that I could get into. I mean, there's not a whole lot of precious metals stores. Usually if you find one, there's like the owner of the store, and then he's got kind of his little underlings, that aren't getting paid as much as that guy is. And it's not like, it didn't feel like a realistic job that I could do. I did blog on a website. I think it's gone now, but it was called The Daily Paul. So there was an online community of Ron Paul people, and I had found a small business in Utah that did something that was completely unique. I had never seen it anywhere online in all my researching and all my studying. And that was a company that specialized in gold eagles. Now, the reason why they did gold eagles is because there's a $50 face value on that gold eagle, which means it's minted by the government and is recognized as money by the government. So it's money. It makes it very different than, say, bullion, because it's a legal tender coin. And they allowed their membership, and it was a membership, to own these $50 1-ounce gold pieces and to have accounts that were denominated in gold dollars. And supposedly there's some tax benefits for doing that. They did the same thing with silver. And nobody else had been capitalizing off the fact that, these are real legal tender coins, or emphasizing that, except for this one guy named Larry Hilton with his little side business in Utah. So I wrote a blog about it, Daily Paul, and it was better than all my other blogs. It got maybe, a few hundred people to read it. It got a lot of upvotes. And, I remember thinking at the time, because they had a bill pay service, I thought, if they had like a credit card instead of a bill pay service, I'm a student, I'm never going to use a bill pay service. But if they had like a credit card associated with the service, I'd probably use it. And it was a few years later, I'd gotten married, and that I was working doing Medicare sales, or Medicare like Advantage plan sales, that I got this email out of the blue from this little tiny company saying that they are offering credit cards attached to the accounts. I thought, hey, that was my big complaint, So I wanted to interview Larry, and I wanted to write an article about this company because nobody else had ever covered it. It was this missing piece of information in this, sea of information about precious metals that I'd been, playing around in forever. And I felt like I knew who the players were. I knew who the companies were. I knew what the offerings were. And I'd never seen a gold account, let alone a gold eagle, silver eagle account tied to any sort of card before. So I wrote this blog. It went on the Daily Paul. And then I got really lucky. Somebody sent it as a tip into Zero Hedge, and Zero Hedge covered the story. And it got 250,000 hits. So, all of a sudden, this tiny little business that had like 200 customers and like 2 part-time employees went from having 200 members that had accounts there, or 100, or, whatever the number was, to having several thousand, just over the course of like a weekend. And
surprise.
Well, the other thing this company had going for it is, and they still do this, is they allow you to sell gold and silver without a spread, which I thought was
interesting.
I didn't even know how they did that. When I bought gold and silver, I bought it for $20. I could sell it for 18, or 17. And every time I had to sell my silver, I'd lose money, which sucked because I owned it, so I wouldn't lose money. So finding a company that didn't have a spread, I thought was really cool. And I emphasized that in the article, and, as their business model. And I leveraged that event to working for Larry Hilton and getting involved in precious metals. That's how I ended up doing full-time in precious metals. I said, hey, I got you all these new people. You obviously need to hire. And he offered me like $10 an hour, and which was a huge pay decrease. But my wife let me do it because it's the industry I loved, and it's the industry where I wanted to work. And I didn't stay at $10 for too long, but I guess that's what I had to do to get in. And just a tiny side note on that spread, I ended up talking to Larry about it. I said, well, what was really incredible is you offered a 0 buy sell spread. He said, well, what's that? I said, well, you're charging the same, you're giving people the same price they're paying for the metals on a given day. He said, well, I don't know why we're doing that. We should be charging a spread. He wasn't a precious metals guy. He was an insurance company guy. He did that on accident. which blew my mind. I thought
Yeah.
you knew what you were doing, man. Like I thought,
I thought that was
you know,
intentional.
so it ended up getting, pared down to like, okay, it's a zero spread, but only for $10,000 in a 30-day period. And it was kind of like a loss leader to get people in the door, So Alpine Gold, that's the company now. They still do that, and
Yeah.
it's pretty cool, but it's a little disruptive because everybody else charges a spread. But that's, I don't know, funny story. I don't tell many people that that core offering was a total accident by someone that didn't really understand precious metals.
That's really funny. It's just, I could just imagine the look on his face. It's just like,
It's like,
what
oh,
are
let's
you
charge a
talking about?
spread. I'm like, you just had 2,000 people sign up because you didn't charge a spread. So
Yeah, exactly.
maybe we just need to figure out how to make the no spread thing work.
So
Yeah.
so you're working there, and I know that there was um a was it Goldback crypto thing that you guys were working on. Um, do you kind of want to run down that? Is there anything important in between those 2 points?
That's fair. So I started working for, it was the United Precious Metals Association. It's serviced by Alpine Gold. Both those things still exist. They've been around for over 10 years now. A lot of what I was doing as the first full-time employee, and this was Larry's side project. He was there once a week. He really let me kind of run it. And for me as a young person, that I feel like that really kind of put me in an entrepreneur seat in terms of starting up a business and really kind of making the whole thing work. So I was kind of building up my experience, serving in as kind of like an executive for this tiny little startup. And
That is a killer opportunity.
it didn't pay me much, but it was a killer opportunity.
Yeah.
What I really liked about Larry in particular is that this is a guy, as just some lawyer guy, wrote a law. So he wrote a bill, he drafted a bill, he found lawmakers that would pass his bill. He followed Ron Paul too, and Ron Paul was talking about inflation as a tax. And I think it was in one of the debates, John McCain or Mitt Romney or someone was talking to Ron Paul, and they admitted that inflation is basically a tax. And Ron Paul didn't like this, and they thought that it was fine. And Larry thought, oh, I need to do something about this. And most people, when they think that, they complain about it online. They don't actually go and do something about it, right? I mean,
Fair.
they don't like take a concrete action in the public space to solve the problem. But Larry did that. He's really special that way. He drafted a bill as a lawyer. He went to a lawmaker and said, hey, this is a bill that would legalize gold, or recognize at a state level gold and silver coinage as legal tender, and really just all gold as legal tender in the state of Utah. And then he helped shepherd the bill all the way through all the committees, and it passed into law in Utah in 2011.
Wow.
And it's like,
that's impressive.
How'd you do that? Like nobody else did that. So,
Yeah.
And Larry was thinking, and I think he was thinking this at the time, he thought, well, if we just pass a dang law that let people use the gold and silver coins, then everyone would just do that. And I solved the problem. And, lo and behold, people weren't actually taking, even though the law allowed it, they weren't taking gold and silver coins and like traveling with them in a pouch and pulling them out and using those instead of dollars. That's not what happened. That was the expectation. That's not what actually happened. Which is too bad, because that was kind of the hope. But what Larry was trying to do with the United Precious Metals Association and Alpine Gold is he was trying to solve that problem. He was trying to get people not just to own gold just in case or own silver just in case. He wanted people to use gold and silver as money instead of using Federal Reserve notes, or at least have the option. And that's what led to the crypto company, right? Because we're still trying to solve that same problem. And my thought with the crypto company was, hey, crypto is this new and growing space. And, 2017, I think is when we started it. let's just get gold, we'll digitize it, we'll break it down into 1,000 pieces with crypto technology. Because the problem with gold is that it's not small enough. It's not, your old $2,000 gold coin is just too valuable. It's too big to really use in a small transaction. So let's just back a crypto with it, and problem solved. We're all using sound money. The company was called Quintric. I was really proud of it because what we decided to do was and nobody's ever done this before or since, to my knowledge. I could be wrong. I don't want to get a cease and desist letter from some guy that's doing it that I haven't heard of. Is we thought, well, the crypto blockchain, it keeps track of all the gold and all the tokens that should be in the system. I wanted to have just as much transparency on the vaulting side. So I thought, we're going to live stream the vault. The vault itself will be live streamed, and the holdings of this crypto chain, this blockchain, will be on the live stream, and anybody can go through the scroll and they can do an audit at any time of all the gold that's supposed to be there for all the tokens being backed. Oh, and by the way, we're only using US minted gold eagles. And by the way, those US minted gold eagles are considered legal tender by the federal government. And by the way, if you have 1/1000th of an ounce, that's 5 gold cents. All of that is considered legal tender. So not only is this cryptocurrency usable, it's considered legal tender by the government, which is something practical. That it's very practical at that point. And by the way, you can see that it's all there. And I thought it kind of checked all the boxes. I thought, this is a 10 out of 10 idea. Let's go ahead and do it. The company ran into problems for a few reasons. One is that the main executives running it, both Larry Hilton and myself, we didn't have any cryptocurrency experience at all. Right?
Ground up.
Yeah. So Warren Buffett, he says, I try not to invest in just 10 out of 10 ideas. I try to invest in the people. And it's not that we were bad people. We just did not have the experience to cleanly execute a cryptocurrency company and to run a software company. And I think that's the biggest thing Quintric had going against it. The second biggest thing it had going against it was, going to these conferences, over 100 times. I'd hear this over and over again, person after person. They'd say something a lot like this. All right. Something along these lines. The first comment would be, well, that's a really cool idea, and I love that you're live streaming the gold, and I trust you, Jeremy, and I trust Larry, and I trust that you're a good guy, and I trust that the gold is really there. I really do. I trust that you guys have your heart in the right place, and that you're doing everything you can to get, the Sound Money project off the ground, and good for you. I don't trust the government, though. Because here's the thing, as soon as your project passes $1 billion, they're going to roll in right through your vault wall with a tank or an excavator, and they're going to take all those gold coins and they're going to throw you in jail. And have you ever heard of the Liberty Dollar? They're going to get you. They're going to get you, and all those gold coins that are backing your project right now are going to be in the custody of the government, and my tokens will be worthless. So that's why I'm not going to buy your stupid token. It's a great idea. I love what you're trying to do. I'm not going to buy it because this is the second thing they'd tell me. And sometimes they just tell me the second part, not the whole story.
Yeah.
They'd say, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. That's a hard thing to be told if you're a Goldback cryptocurrency project, right? Because the point of the crypto is you're not holding it, right? You're not holding it. Yeah. So I was told that over and over again. And that's when I stumbled on Valorum, and Valorum is the manufacturing company for Goldback. And, I'd love to say that, the clouds parted and the angels sung, and I realized what had to be done at that moment. It took me a lot longer than that.
Then you discovered your calling.
Yeah, well, I'm a little more dense than people give me credit for. But Valorum, they were selling, and I don't know who can see this, but they were selling, these things. It was like the 10th of a gram, kind of Willy Wonka golden ticket like thing. And I thought, well, that's cool. I haven't seen that before. So I started, and then they had a crypto project they wanted to do, and they still might do this at some point. In fact, I hope they do, where you have like a key on the outside, and then you destroy the bill to get towards the you get to the password or whatever. So every
Huh.
it's like a Orem, so it's like a Goldback with a wallet on the outside and a password on the inside, and you can't get to the password without destroying the wallet or
Huh.
destroying the bill.
I like
And
that.
I liked it too. I liked it so much that I helped them raise like $500,000, which really kind of built up the relationship. We did a little gold crypto Quintric project with them for I'd call it a micro state, but it's almost more like an imaginary state or an old kingdom state in Breffni, Ireland. We did a project like that, and then that flopped. It had no profit margin. And Valorum came back to me and they said, well, we want to do another project with you. We want to do something with you. We like working with you. What other ideas do you got? Right. And I think that, Adam Trexler, the president of Valorum, him telling me that kind of got the juices going a little bit. And, I had this dream, and, sometimes you dream and you wake up and you think, what was that acid trip, and you forget about it after like 20 minutes. But, this one kind of stuck with me because I was dreaming is an extra sticky dream. And people were using these gold bills in multiple denominations to buy stuff. And I think they were like at a farmer's market, but they were transacting with gold, and that was the whole thing. That was the impression I got. The whole thing was, hey, they're using gold, they're spending gold, they're getting change in gold. The whole thing's gold, and it's these bills that Valorum makes. And I woke up and I thought, yeah, why don't they just do that? I mean, it could just be money, the whole thing. And there's an element of the right time and the right place, because that year, 2019, was the first year that Valorum could go down to 1,000th of an ounce. Before that, the smallest they did is 1/10 of a gram. It's like 3.5 times bigger. But 1,000th of an ounce, we were looking at a $2 gold product, and that had never been done up until that point, at least not recently.
Do you want to kind of describe like what the Goldback is, like kind of just that really neat technology?
Yeah. So in terms of technology, what the Goldback is?
Yeah, just like what it's made out of, the process in which they, I guess, come to life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a lot of confusion around Goldbacks. People think they're foil. So, there's some sort of like rolling machine that rolls these things out like a penny machine if you go to a carnival.
What I thought at first.
That's what people think Goldbacks are. And if that's what they really were, I'd be a criminal for charging so much for them.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me the other day, I was talking to someone, he said, oh, well, Goldback, I don't know how those people sleep at night. And I thought, well, what do you mean? I got a little defensive. So a Goldback is micro technology. So if you look at your laptop, your cell phone, your car, it has computer chips. The computer chips have gold in them. We've heard about this. We know about this. Well, how'd that gold get there? Because it didn't get rolled out of a machine. It actually got placed there through a process called vacuum deposition. So you have this enormous chamber. It gets filled with argon gas. That gets cleaned out. And now you have a vacuum, and you have a giant gold target with about 700 ounces on it. And that gets hit with a laser beam. And when the gold target gets hit with a laser beam, little tiny particles of gold fall off and can get placed in extremely precision amounts in precision places. So if you think diabetic test strips have gold, it's the same process. If you have a space helmet with a layer of gold in it, same process. Oakley sunglasses, same process. Microchips, same process. All of it's vacuum deposition. Valorem was the first company that used vacuum deposition in a bullion-like product. So you run a sheet of polymer through, the polymer gets coated with gold. They know exactly down to within, a thousandth of like a microgram or so, like super, super precision, like a nano. I'm failing on my. It's like a thousandth of a gram or something. Like it's really small, really small,
ridiculously
right? Or
small.
ridiculously small. They know exactly how much gold is on these things. Okay. And then that gets sealed between another layer of polymer. So what you have is like a plastic sandwich, a polymer plastic sandwich with gold in the middle that's kind of protected by the plastic. And it used to be that when they started, these things would have like a 600% premium or a 700 or 800% premium. Well, it's expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not cheap technology.
And first time doing it with something new, like going out of the bounds of the normal usage.
Yeah, no, but they were able to sell enough of these things as kind of these novelty items where people were willing to pay these premiums to get it to the point where they got the premium under 100%. Now, as soon as you do that, if you look at a Goldback is a thousandth of an ounce of gold. So if you were to melt that down, that's like $2, right? And if you were to buy a Goldback today, depending where you're buying it, it's close to $4. So just right under that 100% premium level, or right at it. If you were to compare a Goldback or a thousandth of an ounce of gold versus other products like little tiny itty bitty bars for gold that were also that small, those bars, they're like 200, 300, 400% premiums. The Goldback is the cheapest. It's the cheapest way. Because think about it like in terms of price per unit. If you have a gold coin, and it rolls through the mint and they stamp it, and this technology has been around for a long time. It's gotten better over the years, but it's been out for a long time. If they double stamp one of these coins and they push it out, how much value does that add to put a stamp on a 1 ounce of gold?
I mean, none really. Aesthetic.
Well, it does though. It costs more. So if you buy a 1 ounce bar or a 100-ounce bar, 100-ounce bar per ounce costs less than the coin. In fact, the coin is about between, depending on what you stamp it with, between $25 to $100 worth of value per unit. And if you get it holdered, it's even more. So $25 to $100 cost per unit, and they're not like serialized or anything. Yeah, it's a coin. It's the same as all the other coins. So a Goldback is serialized. There's a serial number on the Goldback. Every single Goldback has a serial number. The price per unit for a Goldback, in terms of manufacturing, is just over $1.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
For an individual Goldback. So we're doing it for like 100th or a 50th of the cost of the coin process. And, I asked these people that give me a hard time. I said, well, I mean, do you expect me to take an ounce of gold and to split it into 1,000 individual pieces and to do that at melt?
Let me guess, that's exactly what they expected.
Yeah, that's exactly what they want. If I can't do that, they don't want it. And it's like, well, fine. Like, I hope that you have a good time spending your 1 ounce gold coins. Also, like, what other products are you holding to that standard? Like, are you going to like buy pencils and saying, well, I've been to Home Depot and I'm feeling really insulted right now that a 2x4 right now is going for $2.50 and this pencil is $1. How can you justify that? It's like, well, you're ignoring an economic law that as soon as you add labor into something, you're adding value.
Yeah.
If I can split an ounce of gold into 1,000 pieces that are serialized and have never been counterfeited ever, that adds value. If anything, I'd actually argue that Goldbacks are undervalued. We should be charging way more for these things.
Do we know what the current rate is? What you guys are exactly charging? Obviously, each note has its own value.
Well, but it's interchangeable. So if you have a 1, and that's the other cool part, the 1 Goldback, 1/1000th of an ounce, it's if you had 5 Goldbacks, it's the same price as a 5 Goldback.
Yeah.
If you had 10 of the 5s, it's the same price as a 50. You can turn in a 50 and get 50 of the 1. And that way it's just like cash.
Yeah.
And, precious metals, they've never done that before. And that's why I knew that we had to push down the price on the 1 denomination as low as we could possibly get it, where, we're going under the 100% premium. We're going under, in fact, our manufacturing company to this day is losing money on the production of the 1 Goldback because we're trying to make that premium as low as possible because all of the other Goldbacks are pegged to that 1.
Interesting.
But again, if you compare the 1 versus other gold products that are of a similar weight or size, the premium on the 1 denomination is lower than everything else. But it's produced at a loss, so go figure,
So, how we kind of brought this up before we started, but exactly how did the community approach you guys, approach this idea? Because I mean, this is really like revolutionary.
Well, we're trying. I mean, because the idea behind a Goldback is this is sound money you can use today, right? This is a sound money project for today, and we're leveraging a technology that hasn't existed in this form until a few years ago. And the technological breakthrough aspect of the Goldback is really understated. Like you look at like the first conference of the United Nations or the League of Nations. They met in New York. It was the end of the 1800s, as the 1890s. The top item on their agenda was horse poop. They have all these cities throughout the Western world, and they are drowning in horse crap because everyone's using these carriages, and they don't know where to put all of it, and it's polluting their rivers, and they have to cart it places, and they thought, if the cities keep growing this way, we're all doomed to drown in horse poop if we can't get this figured out. And the automobile came in and it solved the problem, right?
Yeah.
It's like weird to like hear that was their problem at the time. Now, the problem in precious metals, the sound money problem, is something that you really won't hear about that often. It exists in kind of some intellectual circles, but I'm going to challenge you for a minute. I'm going to go against the libertarian wisdom here. Let's say that we were able to appoint Ron Paul as the chairman of the Federal Reserve, right? We won, the revolution's over, we kicked down the doors of the Fed. Ron Paul's the chairman now. We're running the Fed. There's not like some lever in the building to go back to the gold standard.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. And the reason why might surprise you. And you can tell me how libertarian this sounds, by the way. The gold standard, at its very best, let's say it's 1910. The Fed hasn't taken over yet. This is the golden age of the golden standard. This is it. In 1910, the gold standard was the government force pegging 3 industrial metals, copper, silver, and gold together at a fixed ratio under penalty of death.
That's progressively less libertarian the further you go down that list.
Sure, but that's the best sound money we've ever had. And, if you go back to Roman times, it wasn't that different. Except
why was it those 3 particular?
Well, you have 100 copper pennies that are a silver dollar. You have 20 silver dollars that are a gold piece.
Okay.
If the price of silver in Europe changes and you start melting down silver dollars, they'll hang you for it for debasing the currency. Now, as you fast forward, and now we live in an industrial society, 80% of our silver is used in industry. 80%.
Makes sense.
It's an undervalued industrial metal. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
What percentage of our copper do you think is used in industry?
I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Like virtually all of it, like 99 point whatever percent.
Yeah.
It's in the electrical wires. It's in your headset. You know, it's in the wires that are connecting the two of us. You know, it's copper's in everything, right? We need our copper. You don't necessarily want your copper getting worn out in people's pockets and pennies, because that's less that you have for industry. Same thing with silver. You don't want to wear out your silver and pockets. You want to have it in your solar panels. But that leaves gold. Gold, only 10% is used in industry. That's it. 90% of gold is jewelry, central banks, investment, coins. So gold is still money.
Yeah.
You know, so you can't go back to gold, silver, copper without deindustrializing the world. That's never going to happen. So that's why I said that proverbial lever to go back to the gold standard, it's not there. Even when central banks talk about going back to the gold standard, it's something like Quintric, but less transparent. It's, well, we'll have the dollar and we'll back it with gold.
It's there. Trust us.
It's there. Trust us. We're not going to live stream it. It's there. We're just going to say it's there. It's like, well, you know what?
Yeah.
In the 1970s, you really broke that trust, and I don't think we're going to trust you again. Now what?
I agree. I mean,
now what?
I can't even think of a logical or practical way to even institute going back onto a gold standard.
But libertarians and conservatives talk about it all the time, like that could just be done. Like, we could just do that. Like, why don't we just do that? It's like, how are you going to do that? You can't go back, man.
Well, and I kind of thought we didn't want like a centralized currency, because you would have to create a new one.
Yeah, you would. So, you know, and that's why Goldback is such a big deal, because we're taking a technology, you know, it's like the automobile to the horse, right? For precious metals, we're saying, hey, the small coin problem, and it has a problem. It's called the small coin problem for the last 2,600 years, is you cannot make gold small enough in coinage to spend on small things. You have to have silver and copper to buy small things.
Yeah.
The Goldback, if the Goldback was around in 1910, would be worth 4 wheat pennies. 1/1000th of an ounce, that's 2 cents, because a $20 gold piece is $20. So 1,000th of 2 cents, 100% premium, 4 wheat pennies of purchasing power. That's what a Goldback is. If we can ever split a Goldback into quarters, it'll be 1 wheat penny, the smallest amount of money that we ever actually physically needed. We're gonna try it at some point. We're totally gonna do it.
I'm actually excited to see that, though.
It'd be like $1. It'd be a Goldback that was worth about $1 for now.
Obviously it would be quite a bit smaller, or like really small?
I think it would be the same size. It'd just be transparent. As soon as you go less gold than a Goldback, you can start to see through it. So that's interesting. So as far as reception goes for the Goldback, I kind of have 2 main camps. You know, kind of the love it or hate it camp. Now, the hate it camp is interesting. Well, I'll start with the love it camp. The love it camp is fun because they look at this Goldback and they say, my God, you fixed money. Like, this is it. Like, you found the thing.
This is our direction.
This is it. We finally have a sound money solution. It's not the Fed going back in the gold standard. I mean, it's not that. It's never going to be that. It's not, you know, as much as we love cryptocurrency, that's too volatile. You know, this is another solution. That's a precious metal solution. That's not a digital solution. It's private currency. It's cash. It's basically cash. You made a gold cash. This is great. I want to do this. I'm going to show everybody I know. I'm going to buy 100. I'm going to make it rain. I'm going to explain to people, and I am going to advance the sound money revolution. That's Goldback. I get it. I'm on board. I want to play. Right. So that's camp number 1. You know, the most excited about it people. And then they profusely thank me for trying to work on this. And I feel validated, and it helps, you know, build up my ego to withstand the people on the other camp. So then there's the hate it camp.
Now, real quick, with the hate it camp, or is it largely industry people, largely like consumers, or is it a pretty even mixture of both? That's
a good question. That's fair. There's two types of people in the hate it camp, if I were to break it down. The first type is people that have been buying precious metals for years and years and years, and what they've been taught for decades oftentimes is that if you're paying any sort of a premium over melt on gold, somebody is scamming you. Somebody's got their hand in your pocket and you're not very smart. That's what they tell you. I mean, it's just like, hey, and it's a race to the bottom, and, we're going to sell gold, the cheapest gold, and, if you're paying more than you have to for that same gold coin, you're a sucker. So if somebody's charging you more for any other form of gold, then you're probably a sucker. And, they see the Goldback, they see 100% premium. I went on, I saw a Reddit post, and the question was something like, hey, all you haters out there, what would be a fair premium on Goldback? Like, what would you pay? Because 100% is not acceptable. Is 80% okay? Like, what do you think would be fair for the Goldback? And the hater camp, it's like, I'd pay less than melt. I'd pay melt. I'd pay melt. I'd pay 1% over melt. I'd pay below melt.
Being real smart asses.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you know what? These aren't people that are going to get won over if Goldback goes from 100% to 90%. Fundamentally, they don't believe in fractional gold at all. Maybe they don't even want coins. They want bars. They want 100-ounce bars, delivered through the LBMA. Or kilo bar. That's going to be their best value. And
so
anything else is junk.
Does it seem like it's kind of like an old guard?
Yeah, a little bit.
Kind of like they're gatekeeping a bit.
A little bit. It's mostly older folks. It's mostly people that are, and I don't want to, knock the older generation. A lot of people that are older really understand Goldbacks and get excited by it. But I would say more so of the hater camp, it's 60 plus. They look at the Goldback and they say, this is just a repackaged, expensive, fractional gold product that, I'd rather have coins and bars because it has a lower premium. And, you could ask them, well, why do you own coins and bars? Well, just in case the dollar falls apart and I need to use gold and silver. Don't you think it'd be hard to barter with a 1 kilo bar? Nope. Okay.
The issue I've always kind of seen with it. I mean, even with silver, it's like exactly how small can we get? I mean, we can get pretty small with silver, but it's interesting. Well, I guess it's kind of not interesting.
Here's my beef with silver. And I love silver. I'm a silver bug. I own silver. I'll put that disclaimer on there. I think it's an undervalued industrial metal. I think it's price suppressed. Great. I hear two things from the silver community. One is we don't need Goldbacks because silver exists.
That's
silver.
Stupid.
Silver is, you're taking silver's spot, dude. I mean, like, you're taking silver's spot. We got mercury dimes. We don't need your Goldbacks. You're not solving any problems. There's a great YouTube video. There's a great YouTube video out there. And the guy says basically, Goldback doesn't solve any problems because silver exists. Screw the Goldback.
It directly solves a problem.
But the second thing that is said about silver by the same community, by the same people, is silver is a dramatically undervalued industrial metal that is price suppressed by the big banks. They're already getting fined billions of dollars for it. And when that finally stops, the industrial use for silver has been so high that the price correction on silver will shoot silver to half the value of gold, or overshoot, and it'll be worth more than gold. Follow what Mike Maloney says about silver. It's a very different sales pitch than gold has. There's a speculative nature of silver as it's this undervalued thing. So which one is it? Is silver, because it can't be both. It can't be, this is the fractional thing you should use instead of gold. This is what we'll actually use as money. Or is it, it's hyper undervalued, it'll be worth more or as much as gold is? Because if it's worth just as much as gold, then you need the Goldback, right?
And how threatening is the Goldback if you don't need it?
Well, you're not going to use silver as money anyway, because the industrial demand, it's not coming from people using silver as currency. Yeah. We're never going to do that again. I think we've established that 80% of silver is being used in industry. You're looking at the future industrial demand of silver. Industry will support a much higher price on silver. It'll support a $300-$400 price on silver. So now you're not using silver as money anymore, which is fine. You shouldn't use silver as money anymore. It tarnishes, it wears out. But you know what? I'll tell you what. I'll back up a little bit. If silver is worth just as much as gold, we're totally going to do a silver-backed currency. We'll totally do it. We've already been messing with the technology. So, it's not like there's not space for that.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of my hater group. And then, I think the real core of my hater group are, and this is ironic, and I don't say this very often because it creates problems. It's precious metals dealers that don't sell Goldbacks yet.
Oh.
They don't want a 30-year-old to walk into their business, look at all their coins and say, hey, I want Goldbacks. Well, guess what? This coin dealer was born in 1959. He's been selling silver and gold coins for the last 50 years. He doesn't sell Goldbacks. That's really threatening to have somebody, want to buy something that's not in your store that's a precious metals product. They're not going to have anything nice to say.
Yeah, it seems to them as though it's a direct threat.
It's a competitor. And, we have onboarded a lot of these coin stores. I'd say that 25% of coin stores sell Goldbacks now. But until it's close to 100, that's just going to stay there.
Yeah.
And we would be closer to 100% if it wasn't for, we want to sell a melt thing, or we don't want to sell the new product thing. Because again, you get these crotchety old men and it's like, do you want to hear about Goldback? No. I mean, can I give you one for free? No. Why don't you want one?
What?
No. Do you even know what they cost? No.
Yeah.
I'm not getting anywhere with these guys. They have online accounts too. Goldbacks are bad, Goldbacks are a ripoff. Like, all right, I'm not going to win you guys over.
Yeah.
I'll have to wait till you guys.
Interesting.
I'll have to wait till they die out. I don't know. I'll outlast you guys.
I mean, it stands to reason that you would get some pushback, some haters. That seems to be, with every good idea, every revolutionary idea. It is just strange to me though, because I remember the first time I saw Goldbacks, and I saw what they were, and I kept reading, the advertisement, and it just blew me away. Just the concept alone actually being put into action. As you had mentioned earlier, like who actually goes out and does something about it. This is, all things considered, not an entirely complicated solution. I mean, you guys are doing it. Not saying it was ever easy, by the way.
Well, like I said, there's a little bit of the right guy in the right place at the right time aspect to this. The technology didn't exist to go that small until the year that we happened to start it. Right. So,
yeah,
for me, it's kind of wild to, just be part of it. It's really exciting. And it's really empowering, because a lot of the people that do want sound money, I don't feel like they have a lot of really fantastic choices, but the want is there. The need is there. And what we're finding with Goldback is that people will buy them, and they will spread them around and spend them and educate as many people as they can. And it's gotten to the point, like in Utah, I can't use or tip with Goldbacks or pull them out of my wallet without people knowing what they are. And that's just in the last few years. And that's average people knowing what they are and seeing them. And that's the other really powerful thing about Goldback, is it really appeals not just to the libertarians, not just to the Austrian economists. It's not like a nerdy philosophical thing. Goldbacks have an enormous amount of visual appeal to the average person.
Agreed.
And we see a lot of interest across the political spectrum. It's not, libertarians probably get it the most, but like people on the left and the right, like, and everywhere in between, they love them because they're beautiful. And by the way, that's why gold was money for thousands of years. It appeals
Shiny.
to everyone. It's shiny. What's shinier than a Goldback?
Yeah.
You get a lot of surface area on that thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's really interesting. I have, also being a resident of Utah, I've seen more and more, we accept Goldbacks, which I just love seeing. Um, first of all, the fact that we can even, you know, I guess exchange goods and services with bullion at all, anything outside of the Federal Reserve note is amazing to me right there because there's so many states that can't. And so you add that and then you add goldbacks on top of it.
Well, that's actually something that's really interesting and a common misconception. People are bartering with goldbacks all over the country. We thought that the goldback would be a Utah currency and it would stay here. 95% of goldback sales are outside of Utah.
Yeah, I was watching another interview with you earlier. Can't remember with who. Um, but you had said that, and I can't say I'm that surprised, honestly.
Well, I mean, imagine that you're listening to this podcast and you live in South Carolina. Well, so what if people in Utah have or what are you going to do? Move to Utah? No, what people are doing in South Carolina is they'll buy goldbacks and they're valuable not because they say Utah on them. They're valuable because they're gold. Goldbacks are just gold, and they'll barter with them and use them wherever they're at. And
well, I like that even better because that's like a, agorism. So
right.
It's amazing. I just love it. It's really great. I don't know. I get really excited about it.
Well, if you love it, I'd encourage you to get a goldback wallet and carry them with you. And every goldback you spend is a revolutionary act. At that point, every time you use them, you're boycotting cash.
That's true. That is true. I don't have the wallet yet, so I will have to get my hands on one.
I'll make a final pitch for goldbacks here. This is really pertinent for you, especially if you're in Utah and you got the business network. So something that we've done to really motivate and drive sales for goldbacks is on goldback.com, you have the trading rate for goldbacks. And I think it's like $4 or $3.90 or something like that. Now, what that is an average price for goldbacks. It's an average between all these different coin dealers of what they're selling goldbacks for. But if you're actually using and spending goldbacks, if this is the big brain moment here, if that's an average price, you can buy them for a below average price. You can get goldbacks for $3.60. So if you can buy goldbacks for $3.60 and you can spend them at $4, you're getting 10% off everywhere you spend goldbacks. So not only is it a revolutionary act where you're boycotting cash and you have all these great options, we have hundreds of businesses in Utah on our network. I went to the hardware store and bought a grill, a $1,200 grill for goldbacks. I got 10% off. Everything in the hardware store. We have home builders. We have car dealerships. I bought a brand new Toyota truck and paid for part of it with goldbacks. I got 10% off that part.
Awesome.
I got 10% off that part. You think dealers are doing that right now? And again, the retailers, the people accepting goldbacks, they know this. Because they know that they can spend that same goldback for that same value at any of the other retailers or any other barter transaction. So by creating a profit incentive, and this is, by the way, the engine for just about every local currency out there, by creating that discount, it incentivizes spending. So if Jacob knows that he can get 10% off every time he uses goldbacks, the more he can incorporate goldbacks into his budget, the more money he can save, and the more he's spreading and circulating sound money.
It's true. It's true. What do you think the rough estimate of how many are out in circulation?
Somewhere between $50 and $80 million worth. So in terms of local currencies, goldback is the most successful local currency in the history of the United States.
I believe it. That's incredible. Well, and you guys are having a hard time keeping up with orders, aren't you?
We have been. We've got production up. So production's gone up substantially in the last few months. And for me, I feel like I can finally talk about goldbacks more because it's not, oh, by the way, goldbacks is a thing, but don't buy too many. We don't have enough to go around.
Don't buy us out.
Well, now people are buying, they're putting in 6-figure orders because how much is enough money? It's just, it's a spendable, usable money. People are buying a lot of goldbacks, and we're able to sell every Goldback that can be produced, but this is the right time for growth for us.
Yeah, it seems like a very perfect time. um, man, just looking at the prices of eggs blew my mind. Just luckily, the grocery store we go to, me and my wife, um, it's been coming back down, but just like with everything else, it fluctuates, and then it
Sure.
gets all the way up to a ridiculous price. And obviously, knowing the uh, the centralized banking, the fiat currency, I just always had a hard time sitting there. Just man, how would it be if it wasn't if we weren't trapped under a system like this? And thankfully, for things like Goldback and you know anything other than Federal Reserve notes, I just see a way out, a way to be a quite a bit more free than we were forced to be since birth, practically.
And that's the thing. If people want it, it's an option. It's proving out to be really popular. But they say you get the government you deserve. You can take it a step further and say you get the currency you deserve.
I was always fascinated by that first coin that Benjamin Franklin minted that said what was it? None of your business or something like that. I can't remember what was put on the coin. Pretty sure it was none of your business. Saying, yeah, my finances are none of your business. I just love that, especially
And mind your business.
yeah, mind your business. Um, with the federal government wanting transaction records of anything $600 or over, like you guys put us 31 trillion in debt. You can't even balance a checkbook yet. You want to see my transactions $600 and above? Yeah, there's something wrong about that.
Well, people care about privacy, and they care about privacy a lot. And I think that's the big threat of the central bank digital currency. And this is, you kind of have to laugh at yourself a little bit, because the people I hang out with, they'll say something like, well, or people I interact with, they'll say, central bank digital currencies will be the end of us. It's horrible. They're going to get rid of cash. And how sad would that be if they got rid of cash? And I say, well, wait a minute. You said that cash is just Federal Reserve notes and it's just junk anyway. So, which one is it? Is it the tragedy that you're losing cash, or is the tragedy that you have to use cash to begin with?
Never focused on the privacy part until it was
Well,
threatened.
sure. Well, it, and really, I mean, the honest answer, if I'm not just being a sarcastic, jerk, is, you're going from the frying pan into the fire, right? Yeah, I mean, cash
That's
is
fair.
bad, but the fire is worse, and people complain about that. And it's like, well, what if a bunch of libertarians got together and made something better than cash that was made out of gold?
Yeah.
What if we did that? Then we're out of the whole abusive relationship altogether.
Yeah.
You just have to have the courage to, use it, and find the small business owners and, tip with it and introduce people and, advance it as a money, because it's only viable if people use it. It's only going to work long term if people adopt it and they take it on as part of a cause or a grassroots mission. And I think that's part of why the Goldback is done so well. Is if I were to say there was a base of support for the Goldback, it's men between the ages of 25 and 40 that got sucked into the Ron Paul movement, or libertarianism in general. They found the Goldback, they got excited about it, and the same people that almost did an upset with the delegates in the Republican convention, getting Ron Paul in there, the same type of activist minded people are advancing the Goldback. You know, they're actually spending it. They're carrying
Yeah.
it in their wallets. They're introducing it to people, and it's an easy thing to do. You know, I mean, imagine, you know, it's like I was at a restaurant the other day. I was at Tucano's, and you know, we'd ordered a bunch of food, and you know, they don't take Goldbacks at Tucano's, which is fine. A few restaurants do, they don't. But I brought out a 5 Goldback as a tip. And I was explaining what it was, and the waitress got really excited. She says, "Oh my goodness, you know, that's so cool. I've never seen anything like that before. You know, I think I'd really love that." Um, but you know, we had multiple waiters because it was Tucano's. Another one kind of leans in and says, "Oh, I'd love that," you know, and they're like low key fighting over this thing in front of me because it's cool, you know, and it's my guess is that neither of them were precious metals people. You know, it's young people. It introduces a whole new generation into precious metals in a big way. You know, the older generation had precious metals as money. They had mercury dimes, and they had silver. You know, they had junk silver. It was their money. You know, the young people, the Goldback is doing a lot to introduce the new generation to what sound money should look like. And you know, I'm really excited for it for that reason.
I really like it on the simple basis that it is a very impactful way to fight back, and it's a peaceful way to fight back. And I mean, what's better than just undermining the entire Federal Reserve System by just using something else?
Well, you know, and I might argue that we're not even undermining it necessarily. I think what would be a total victory for Goldback is, imagine you are a central bank. So you're running the central bank now. I feel like central banks have nothing but bad choices. People are losing faith in their fiat
That's
currency.
true.
But, you know, a central bank's job fundamentally is to put out a currency that people will use, because we need to have currency so we can have civilization.
Yeah.
So what happens if the politicians have their hand in your pocket? They're encouraging you to pump all this money. I'm just going to, for a moment, give central banks the benefit of a doubt. If you were to run a central bank yourself, I imagine you've got a stressful job. People are
Yeah.
losing faith in your currency. Now what? Do I make a digital currency? Well, people don't trust you. They trust you for the thing you're already doing for some reason, but they don't like crypto level trust you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they don't trust you all the way. They use you out of convenience. That's what this is. But look at Zimbabwe. You know, the Zimbabwe central bank right now,
Yeah.
they're introducing tiny gold coins because they think, hey, we have gold reserves. Nobody will trust us to peg our dollar to gold because they don't trust us. Let's just put the gold into circulation directly. And by the way, Zimbabwe is not the only central bank doing this.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be phenomenal if they did something more like Goldback? That's going to be better than tiny gold coins. I think what we're going to find over the next 10 to 20 years is that central banks will adopt currencies like the Goldback using the same technology because it's their best choice. And in that sense, the
At
Goldback
least
isn't
for survival.
sure. At that point, the Goldback isn't undermining anybody. If anything, we're a free research for central banks,
That's a good point.
so they could dig themselves out of this hole. They have a lot of the gold. You know, let's get the gold in circulation. There's enough gold that if it was in the form of something like a Goldback, that it would be enough for everybody. You know, it's a solution that would actually scale out and work. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I don't think, you know, I'd hate for a central bank to look at the Goldback and say, they've made a competitor. I want them to look at the Goldback and say, hey, maybe that's a solution. Let's keep an eye on it.
You know, it'd probably end up like how it has with just, all the other customers. You'll probably have a small holdout of old bankers that just turn their nose up, and slowly their business fades away.
You know what? That's the beauty of a rising generation. I feel like we are in a revolutionary generation right now. And eventually, all of these old people that I got to be really careful how I say this. I love old people. Eventually, our generation will be making all the choices. So whether it's in 5 years
Yeah.
or 10 years or 20 years or 50 years, I believe that the technology behind a Goldback will be the future of money.
So would you say that you're white pilled, fairly optimistic?
I I you know, I'll put it this way: we're either going to move into a dark age where we're using medieval coins and we're trying to like figure out how to survive in a tightly interwound industrial era, and we're trying to, we're going to have a civilization collapse, like the Bronze Age collapse. That's what we're heading for under the fiat system, or we're heading towards a Goldback age. It's going to be one of the two.
Interesting.
It's so for me, it's Goldbacks or bust. Like
yeah.
I don't actually want to live in the post-apocalyptic future where I have to barter with these things when everything falls apart.
I don't want to have to like barter in the traditional sense. Like, I'll give you 12 dozen apples if you carve me a chair.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I want to get away from that.
Yeah.
I think that the only way out of this in the time frame that we're in is if central banks adopt Goldback like technology in the next 10 to 20 years. And that's more likely to happen if we can get people on board circulating and educating people about Goldbacks now. And again, it's a grassroots movement. I'll tell you, there's already dozens of members of Congress that own Goldbacks. It's already, everybody in the state legislature in Utah knows about Goldbacks. They already own Goldbacks. But it's a grassroots movement. It comes from the bottom up, and in that sense, it's a call. It's a call to action for anybody that cares about sound money. This is a banner of sound money that you can carry, and this is how we win.
Yeah. It's so that's actually like why I was so adamant about wanting to get you on. Because this is a really big, important conversation. I mean, things just seem to be getting worse as far as like the food supply, and we keep printing money to send over to wherever. We're just sending money everywhere except for right here. And I can see such a big, obviously I'm not the only one that can see this, but I can see just this huge change, the devaluing and how rapid it's been since Joe Biden took office. Not that I actually think we're dealing with things that Trump did in office. Like, we haven't even got close to Biden yet, but just within that time frame, the inflation,
Sure.
it's almost like it happened overnight, or like within a week's time, is what it feels like, because it's so dramatic.
Inflation's slow until it's fast.
Yeah. Good.
And that's the thing. I think it's going to impact everybody in such a way where people will look for solutions. And I'm trying to do everything that I can right now to build up the production of Goldbacks, so that if we did have foreign central banks or local central banks that wanted to pursue this, that the infrastructure is being built up now.
Do you think it's a fundamental misunderstanding of like what money is, which wouldn't be surprising to me because there's no financial literacy class in school, but like I have legitimately heard people recently in person state that the economy is doing well. Like,
you know what? I don't know. I can't pretend to have all the answers and all the things. I feel like I have like a very little narrow thing that I'm trying to work on, but if it's successful, having a sound money over a fiat money system for the world is about as close to the roots of most of our problems that I can go.
But you understand the importance of sound money.
Absolutely. No, that's the whole point.
There's definitely lots of people that don't.
The Goldback is a sound money. It's fundamentally a sound money project. In terms of how people understand money, look at money. I don't know. I think people just use what they know works. I think the reason why you would accept a $100 bill is you have confidence that within a reasonable enough time frame that you can spit out that $100 bill to somebody else and get your value out of it.
Yeah.
But it's like we're playing a faster and faster game of musical chairs with fewer chairs. And there's a real problem to that. I really hope the music keeps going. I need time. We need time to get this solution on, implemented. I don't know how much time we have. You know, it's very possible
That's
that,
my
you know,
concern.
if things go dark before we're ready, you know, the Goldback will be a life raft to everybody that owns them. I'm really hoping that we have enough time where it can be a life raft for everybody. You know, we can just move everybody onto the brand new ship before the ship sinks, and not just, hey, if you were really smart and really, really, you know, in the know, you got to be one of the few survivors.
Makes me
And
think of that Futurama episode where they think the Earth is going to be destroyed by a solar flare, and they have to choose all the people in that little like yes or no box. They stick their hand in, but yeah, it's something that concerns me. Um, when I see that's actually why I started my show. I wanted to showcase people that are like trying to do things to stop this this bombardment of just terrible things coming down on us.
yeah, what are you
Um,
going to do about it? What are you going to do about
yeah,
it? What are things that anyone can do? What can the average person do about it?
exactly.
You know, what are small actions that you can take to steer the ship away from the iceberg or to build the other ship so we can hop on it? You know, what are
Yeah,
things that we can proactively do to make things better? And, you know, for the people using Goldbacks, it's, hey, let's use Goldbacks. Let's introduce Goldbacks to more people. Let's sign up businesses. You know, there's a dozen different ways to get involved in this sound money movement. I designed it that way on purpose.
yeah,
You know, it's not Jeremy Corden has all the answers and he's going to save us.
yeah,
No, I'm trying to hand you a shovel so you can save yourself, you know? So,
yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm counting on people to hop on the cause. We really need that for it to be successful. So at the end of the day, if we're not successful and you didn't participate, you know, you can blame yourself, you know, because
Yeah,
you were part of it not being successful. And that's empowering.
that's,
It's a two-edged sword because I'm asking people to take on the responsibility, you know?
yeah, yeah. That's the hard thing about all of this. Working in the Libertarian Party, I've
Mm-hmm.
I've learned trying to pitch the idea of self responsibility, self reliance is it's tough. It's not impossible, but it's tough.
It is tough. I think most people want somebody else to solve the problem for them, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
But again, and that's why I like libertarians, you know, I feel like in the crowd, there's enough people that truly believe in taking on responsibility. And that's why they believe in a republic. You know,
Yeah.
it's a good crowd. It's a really good crowd.
So I don't want to keep you for too long. Um, just a couple more things. One last question. It's a quick question,
Okay.
but do you want to go ahead and shout out, let everyone know where they could possibly find out more information,
Oh, I
where
probably
they
should, huh? Yeah. So, yeah, I'd recommend goldback.com. Goldback.com is going to be a great resource. You can find where to buy these things. You can find out what you can do. You can find ways to get involved. If you happen to live in one of the Goldback states, great. We have a business network for you. If you don't, most small business owners will take them. They'll take gold as payment. So, you know, we have a lot of educational tools and resources there. We've got a lot of bullion dealers that sell Goldbacks. So, yep.
and that is down in the episode description, which is where it will stay for as long as this video is where it is. So thanks for everyone watching. This was a great time, Jeremy. Um, this is just it's really important to me, and this is just one of those things that the average person can do, have a major impact by not having to dedicate their lives to politics or you
Sure.
know
It's a small thing, but it's a big thing. And again,
yeah
Goldbacks are designed to give you discounts every time you use them.
yeah.
You know, so I'm trying to make it we've created a strong financial incentive, you know, to use these things.
So the last question, and then we'll wrap up and get out of here. I like asking this because I like hearing everyone else's different perspectives, and that's why does liberty matter in the first place?
You know, I think that liberty is about believing in the average individual to make choices for themselves rather than having a hierarchy that's so strict that the individual is shielded or protected from the weight of their own decisions and consequences from them. I think liberty is it's a super empowering concept. I mean, it was revolutionary in the times of the monarchy because it used to be a top-down system. The king had the baron had the vassal had the serf. And if you were a serf, you didn't have to make choices outside of, you didn't have to make that many choices, and that was comfortable for a lot of people. I think the idea is that we can all be kings.
Well said. I like that. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jeremy. I definitely want to get you on again. Thank you, everyone, for staying this far into the episode. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. Most of you that watch this are not subscribed, so please subscribe, help this out, help us grow. And let's see, we've got some pretty cool guests coming up. We've got a G. Edward Griffin coming somewhere in the next week or two. So just subscribe and you'll find out when. So until next time, stay free, my friends.